So good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are, and greeting from Madrid. Welcome to the second edition of Glasgow Declaration Global Roundtable for Tourism Climate Action. I'm Roxana Ashtari. I'm a senior project specialist at the Sustainable Tourism and Resilience Department at UN Tourism. Thank you very much for joining us today. And today's session is built actually on the success of the first roundtable held at Fitur in January 2024. As you may have already seen the program, we have a very enriching lineup of speakers, including national level signatories, which is a great honor for us, as they are the UN Tourism direct constituents, as well as front-running signatories from three categories: destination, businesses, and supporting organizations. So just before we start, I want to share with you some housekeeping rules for the smooth and fruitful session. Please make sure that you are all muted when you are not speaking. We also invite you to adjust your name on the Zoom. You can right-click on your screen and then put the name of your organization and put your name so we know who is joining us today. And also you can put your questions in the chat box during the Q&A session. And please note that this session is going to be recorded. The recording will be available later, and we assume that we have our consent for the session to be recorded. So without any further ado, it's the great honor to have dear Executive Director, Madam Zorica Orusovic with us. Dear Zorica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roxana, and thank you, Virginia, for creating this opportunity for all of us to meet. I think that we are in good hands. Dear Madam Deputy Minister, dear speakers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome you to another Glasgow Declaration Global Roundtable on Tourism Climate Action. It is great to build this community of practice on climate action in tourism together. Our collective efforts to address climate change with the tourism sector hold paramount importance. During the first edition of the Roundtable in Fitur, we showcased achievements and success stories in climate action from Glasgow Declaration signatories and the insights from the Implementing Report 2023. We had a diverse lineup of speakers who shared generously their insight and experiences, and this is the approach and spirit we need to build our sector on. Learning from each other, collaborating, and empowering all stakeholders, because every action counts. And in today's panel, I'm very pleased to see more signatories sharing their expertise, and I'm really eager to listen to all of you. I am particularly looking forward for the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia and the Slovenian Tourist Board as our member states presenting their climate action, in addition to distinguished representatives from destination, private sector, and civil society. The extreme weather events impacting the planet and our societies are not isolated incidents. They highlight the pressing need to address the underlying causes and consequences of climate change immediately and proactively. Our sector is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of extreme weather and climate change, such as rising sea levels, heat waves, and increased frequency of natural disasters. Our sector is also a significant contributor to carbon emission, mainly through transportation, but not only, necessitating immediate action to mitigate its environmental footprint. UN Tourism is guiding the global tourism sector in stepping up its climate action ambitions. The Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action and its pathways provide an unprecedented global framework for action to make the shift to a net zero sector by 2050. We have now almost 900 signatories, an increased number which reflects the growing commitment of tourism actors. These include destinations, national and subnational tourism administration, businesses such as tour operator, accommodation provider, including large businesses and SMEs, and supporting organizations, association, NGO, and CSO. It is very promising to see many of you with us today. And our discussion will serve as a platform of exchange to share, get inspired, to act, to decarbonize, regenerate, measure, finance, and highlighting the imperative for collaboration for these key pathways. Colleagues, the only way to combat climate change is to do it together. There is no competition in this field. We need collective efforts and impact. It makes us proud to continue welcoming more entities embarking on this journey with us. As today we also have climate focal points from ministries of tourism with us, I would like to encourage all UN tourism member states and tourism stakeholders to sign the Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action in Tourism so that we can effectively support the implementation of the Paris Agreement. And I wanted as well to share with you that we are in very advanced discussions with Azerbaijan and UNFCCC for COP29. We are looking at increasing the importance and presence of tourism stakeholders in Baku later this year, and we will keep you posted on the opportunities, including the importance to join efforts of tourism governance to contribute to the forthcoming national determined contribution due to be prepared and ready by March 2025. And we have a lot ahead of us. And thank you again for being here and joining forces to advance climate action in the tourism sector. Thank you very much.
Dear Zorica, thank you very much for your inspiring words. It's really a great honor to have you and always have your constant support for the Glasgow Declaration and all the activities we are doing. So now we are about to start the roundtable and very interesting discussion. The moderator of the session is going to be Ms. Virginia Fernandez-Trapa. She's the program coordinator at Sustainable Tourism and Resilience Department at UN Tourism. So dear Virginia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Roxana, for the introduction. I'd like to join you on expressing my gratitude to our executive director for the support to establish this community of practice and really drive climate action support for tourism stakeholders. I'd like to thank also our speakers and everyone that has connected for the interest in continue learning about this challenging but very interesting topic to transform our sector for the better. So on the slide, you can see that today we have a diverse panel. We have the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of Indonesia. We have the Slovenian Tourist Board. We have a destination Visit Tampere. In Finland, we have the Foundation for Environmental Education and also Evanios. I will introduce with a bit more detail all the speakers when it is their time to speak. But just to provide a bit of context, I wanted to recall that in January, during the roundtable at FITUR, can I have the next slide, please, Roxana? We released the implementation report 2023, and this is a report that we prepared with, after carrying out a systematic analysis of all your reports and all the climate action plans received. So our main takeaway when doing this exercise was basically that the value of working collectively in climate action is confirmed. We see a lot of synergy, and we see an increasing complementarity in the roles that different types of stakeholders can take. So that's part of the rationale also for us to strengthen the opportunities for us to exchange and collaborate. The approach of the Glasgow Declaration, which is, I'm not going to say easy, but it is relatively simple and flexible. The 5 pathways, they have catalyzed the creation of hundreds of independently created climate action plans and reports. And the network is somehow pioneering in this field because it was not common before for the majority of tourism stakeholders to have a climate action plan, to have a structured way to address climate action. As you can imagine, there are multiplicity of responses, just like our sector is very diverse. So the responses are also diverse, but they're all enriching, and it's very interesting to learn from each other. So During the session today, I mean, we have structured the flow in two main blocks. The first part would be having a stronger emphasis on decarbonization, measurement and decarbonization. There we will have a presentation from the Ministry of Tourism of Indonesia and the discussion with our discussants. And we will then switch to the second block with a presentation from Slovenian Tourism Board that is basically building a bridge between measure and decarbonize and the next block, regenerate. And hopefully we will hear also from discussants and from the audience. We have tried to plan for 2 Q&A sessions, so hopefully it works and we have enough time for you also to share with us or ask questions. Okay, so let's get started. I guess, as I said, we will kickstart with the presentation from the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia, for which I have the honor to invite Mrs. Rizky Handayani Mustafa. She is the Deputy Minister for Industry and Investment, and Mrs. Handayani will be sharing with us about Indonesia's tourism decarbonization journey. So, Mrs. Handayani, thank you so much for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Virginia. Good morning, all the participants of these events, and then a good afternoon, maybe from who you in the eastern part of the globe. It is very great pleasure and honor that I'm welcoming to this very important roundtable discussion, and I'm very delightful and also excited to be part of this roundtable discussion. And thank you so much for UN Tourism to invite Indonesia to share our journey. Actually, this is the beginning of our journey in order to show our commitment on decarbonizations in tourism sectors. Indonesia, we are proud also that we are one of the country that signed the ministry signed of the Glasgow declarations. And why it is important for us to sign Glasgow declarations, because this is in line with our mission, our vision, and national policy direction toward responsible tourism in realizing net zero emission. So the Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action in Tourism is a collective commitment which aims to increase climate action tourism, have half carbon emission by 2030, and reach net zero as soon as possible before 2050. Inshallah that we can reach that. By signing this declaration, organizations involved in tourism pledge to take concrete actions, which are measure decarbonization, regenerate, collaborate, and financing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, adopt sustainable practices, and work towards achieving carbon neutral. Next. In National Commitment Agenda, there are targets for Indonesia in 2030, which are 43.20%, with the priority sector being in energy, waste, IPPU, agriculture, forestry, and other land uses. You see that although no tourism sector in that priority sector, but we are in the Ministry of Tourism still have a commitment to reduce the emission produced by tourism activities. Next. This is the journey actually from the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy on sustainable tourism and climate change issues. On 2021, we issued the ministerial decree number 9, 2021, presenting comprehensive guidelines for sustainable tourism destination development. This policy outlines principles and criteria to be adhered by tourism stakeholders, and emphasizing on environmental, social, cultural, and economic aspect. On 2022, we joined the Glasgow Declaration for Climate Action in Tourism. We we think that this is very important for us to commit to tackle climate change by accelerating its efforts and aiming for net zero by 2050. By aligning with the declaration principle, Indonesia positioned itself as a proactive participant in the global fight against climate change within the tourism context. As part of the commitment to that the ministry collaborate with other stakeholders and launch a carbon offset application for travelers, which regenerates mangrove forests in 5 pilot destinations. So in this year, we then working with the NGO Wise Steps and also with the Jejak In, we create a program that we can measure our carbon during our traveling travel within Indonesia. And 2023, we launched the campaign Every Step Matters. So this is also in line. There's a application or the application that our sector signing for the Glasgow Declarations. On 2023, thank you to the UNDP that support us to set up the development of a comprehensive decarbonization roadmap in tourism, which support, and this is launched. The document was launched at the side event of the first high-level meeting of Archipelagic Island State Forum and the Blue Economy High-Level Dialogue in Bali. The document was handed over to the ministerial meeting in 2023. So I think this is very big step for us that we start to set up the roadmap on how to implement implemented our commitment in from the Glasgow Declaration. And also in 2024, we're working with the National Planning Board. We also have the Blue Green Circular Economy or BGCE guidelines special for the tourism sector. Next. So the roadmaps for the decarbonization roadmap seek to develop a strategic plan detailing the goals and activities that can be carried out to achieve a low carbon tourism sector, especially to use resources efficiently and reduce the amount of waste generated from the tourism industry. The scope of this roadmap focus on 3 main subsectors, which is accommodation, tourist attraction, and tour and travels, tour operators with heavy and light assets. Apart from this that roadmap primarily seeks to formulate the basic foundation that we will use for the calculation, reporting, and monitoring processes, which will serve as the main basis for the future decarbonization efforts in the tourism sector. So actually this year, this is the general roadmap that the roadmap consists 3 phases. Currently, we are the first phases, building the foundation. So I think this is very important for us that in the next 2 years we will do the baseline calculation. We set up the baseline, and then for the emission reduction target and preparation of voluntary mechanism, which will you carry it on the second phase. This is the general roadmap of our work for the implementation of the guideline, the roadmap of the decarbonization. Next, this is the baseline methodology that we are working with the 3 subsectors that I already mentioned before, and then in the accommodation sectors that we are how we do this, we collecting the historical data, and also we project the number of guests up to 2030, and then we measure electricity consumption and occupation hotel category. So we already did a pilot project in Nusa Dua, Bali, to measure how much the energy that they use and then the waste that they produce in their operations. So we have the roadmap, and then what is the recommendation in the roadmap? There is 6 recommendation in the roadmap, which is mitigation action, before that, back. That's very important that we recommendation on mitigation action, on appreciation to the industry who join this effort, and financing. So how to get the support from the financing for not only from the government but also for all resources. And online reporting, this is also very important for us, that we have the online reporting and policy, and also very important, I think, that we need to share is how to communicate this strategy to not only to the industry but also to all the sector and the community. Next. So how we did this, and we doing the in-depth interview to the hotel, to travel agent, and also with the tourist attraction. But now we heavy on the hotel, and then we have the desk research, and the important is focus group discussion, which we invite the association from the hotel, association for the tourism industry, with the electrical companies. That's because there's two aspects that we measure, is the energy as well as and the waste that produced by the hotel. So next. From this discussion, we identified challenges faced by the industry, such as from the internal industry itself. So they found that this is expensive or high investment cost to implement the carbon reduction program, and in fact insufficient human resources capacity related to actions and calculation. This is also maybe we will find in not only in accommodation sector but also in government actually. And not all businesses are aware of decarbonization action. And from the external we identified that there's the absence of reporting format mechanisms and toolkits, and limited information, and low tourist awareness. Next, sorry, and then maybe this is, I can share my presentation, but I think this is very important for us to start, for all of us, I think, to start to reduce the carbon. And then, like I mentioned before, there's energy and waste aspect that we now calculate for this program. Next. Yes, I think it's same. Then there is the building foundation is very important, the reporting mechanism, integrated information, and capacity buildings. This is, I think, the basic of how we can start to measure the carbon reductions. Okay, and then the last one, that we also have the blue-green circular economy reported that we will apply also in our program in Indonesia. And we now also we have a project and program on food waste program, and then how to working with the industry as well with the startup company to support us on to achieve this our goals. Thank you. Sorry, because the time is very limited, I cannot share more than this. And then I hope that we have a comment from all the participants here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Handayani. Wow, it's great to see all the work and how you're leading by example. It's true, very challenging to share so much work that you have been doing in such a limited time. But I'm sure you have awakened the curiosity of our colleagues in the audience, and certainly you will get some comments. I also would like to recommend to our colleagues that they can check the decarbonization roadmap, which is available on the One Planet website under your profile. And yeah, there you can see the breadth of the work. We look forward to building case studies. The circularity angle is really an interesting one. This is very aligned with what we do in the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program. So very, very interesting. Congratulations again. And thanks for your openness to share with the network. Okay, so I wanted to show a slide on the policy guidance. Roxana, could you pin me? If not, thank you. So basically the work of Mrs. Handayani is aligned with our latest publication, which many of you would have seen, but is the policy guidance to support climate action by national tourism administrations. This document was developed actually following a participatory process, which involved the nomination of climate action focal points in ministries of tourism, or let's say in national tourism administrations, upon the invitation of our Secretary General to ministers of tourism. So it was quite a pioneering exercise. And on the slide, you can see the 59 countries that so far have nominated a climate action focal point to UN tourism. We're really happy to have this group of committed people to work with. All right, so let's now move on to the discussion with the rest of colleagues. So I would like to invite Alenka and Matti and also Catherine and Johan to please turn on their cameras so that we can all be pinned on the screen, looking like a virtual roundtable. And let's see, I can see you're activating the cameras. Can we, Edgardo, please, can you help us be pinned on the main screen, if that's possible? Thank you. All right, so let's continue exchanging. I will start with you, Matti, from Visit Tampere. Matti Polari, he's project manager at Visit Tampere. As we said before, it's a DMO in Finland. But I'd like to invite you, Matti, to share with us a few words about Visit Tampere. Can you introduce your work briefly for our colleagues in the audience, please?
All right, thank you. Great to be here, first of all, and greetings from Tampere, the sauna capital of the world. And we are also one of the EU 100 climate mission cities, a city of Tampere. And I myself, I'm working at Visit Tampere. We are the destination management organization of Tampere region, and I'm responsible for sustainable tourism and of course, advancing our climate actions here in Tampere.
Thank you so much. Some minutes ago, Matti, we were listening to Mrs. Handayani sharing about their roadmap of Indonesia for decarbonization. I know that your region, Visit Tampere, also has a roadmap for climate neutrality that is broader than tourism. It applies to all sectors of the economy. Can you tell our colleagues how are you supporting that roadmap? I mean, and how are you approaching the issues of measurement and decarbonization from a DMO perspective?
All right, of course, more than delighted. As I mentioned, because Tampere is one of the mission cities and Tampere has a climate neutrality roadmap for the city of Tampere, it's of course easy for us as a tourism development organization to also set climate actions and climate goals for tourism industry. And at the same time, of course, the ambitious climate work that the city is doing provides us with a background for tourism development and for decarbonizing tourism industry. So therefore, for us as Visit Tampere and the focal point of our climate action plan and our sort of focus on our measuring and decarbonizing actions has been companies first from the very beginning. That meaning that our main goal is to help companies to calculate their carbon footprint and of course plan their climate actions and implement their climate actions based on the calculation results. And therefore we've been more than fortunate to have Visit Finland's free-to-use carbon calculator tool, and of course also Sustainable Travel Finland program. Those are both wonderful tools for us to help companies and of course also to manage the destination level development. Larger companies, they of course have their own calculation tools and they have resources to do climate actions, but
Thank you so much for the great efforts. It's really interesting because it's certainly not easy for a DMO to approach measurement, right? As I was saying in the beginning, we have seen through the development of the implementation report a great variety of approaches, but I find what you're doing very strategic because you're supporting the industry with in collaboration with Visit Finland. By the way, just in case colleagues in the audience are not aware, Visit Finland signed the Glasgow Declaration together with 60 representatives from the industry in Finland. So it was like a movement, national movement to adhere to Glasgow Declaration. And this approach of how do we call those indicators? Is it action-oriented indicators? Like you're not really yet measuring the CO2, right? But you want to measure how many people are measuring CO2. So eventually you will come up with a footprint, but you are so far prioritizing the action on the ground and the measurement. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying measurement is not important. It's the opposite, it's super important. But we need to find the ways that work for us to really kickstart action on the ground and progressively evolve. So thanks, Matti, for sharing your thoughts. I'll continue with our next panelist, Katrin Kosch. She's a sustainability manager at Evanios. Dear Katrin, thank you for joining us. And please, could you introduce Evanios for our audience? I'm not sure people are familiar with your work.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. So to quickly introduce Evanios, we are an online marketplace that was founded with the goal to create a better alternative to mass tourism. So online marketplace means that we basically create the technical infrastructure to connect travelers with local agencies inside the destination. And by doing that, we, on the one hand, hope to have trips that are better for the destination because they're planned by locals who have an interest in protecting their destination, their home, their culture, but also creating better trips for the travelers because they get more unique and authentic experiences thanks to local insider knowledge. And at the moment, we work with around 160 agencies all around the world, I think in 170 destinations or so. And since we were founded in 2009, so 15 years ago, we had over 700,000 travelers book their trips through our website. So yeah, we're a large-scale online marketplace.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So, I mean, you are a marketplace. So let's say one would think maybe your direct emissions are not so, or are relatively modest, right? Because you're connecting the dots, demand with offer. But so what motivated you actually to look beyond your direct footprint? Because you told us you are trying to understand even the impact of the traveler in the destination in terms of emissions. Can you explain a bit that journey, please, Catherine?
Yeah, thank you for asking, because it's a question that we've been discussing internally a lot for the last couple of years. So indeed, as a marketplace, our scopes 1 to 3 in the official definition are pretty small. We have one office here in Paris where I'm based. We have employees that do business trips that commute to the office, and we need to run our websites, but that's basically it in terms of our own carbon emissions. And we could be only focusing on that and saying that our Glasgow commitment is to have these emissions and then become net zero. But it's a very, very small section or percentage, that footprint, compared to the hundreds of thousands of trips we sell through our platform every year. And even though it's not us directly creating these trips, it just felt kind of wrong and hypocrite to be completely ignoring these like 99% of the emissions and only focus on our little office here and on our website. And so, yeah, for the Glasgow Declaration, we've officially included the in-destination emissions of our travelers in our commitment. And on the one hand, it's really scary because we don't create these trips ourselves, so it's not our direct influence of what happens on them. But being a marketplace, we're also in a really unique position to, on the one hand, influence our agencies and help them create better trips, but also to educate and empower our travelers on the B2C side and help them make better choices. So yeah, we're really excited actually to be in a position where we can influence such a large amount of people on the B2B side and on the B2C side and help them travel better and travel more environmental friendly. And potentially, in all transparency, we won't be able to have those emissions or to be fully net zero by 2050 if we look at the in-destination emissions as well. But we still think it's going to have, or we're going to have much more impact in total if we focus on these trips as well, rather than just looking at our own little office operational emissions.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's extremely interesting and showing a lot of responsibility in your business model. I like very much your concluding sentence. You're trying to look at how to trigger more impact, regardless of that, meaning you are somehow taking on board emissions which you didn't directly create. So it's an interesting shift of the focus. Let's not think I'm being burdened by some other entities' emissions, but rather think, what can I change? And that way, you are really having a strategy that is looking forward towards triggering change. Thank you. So let's hear now from Mr. Johan Durant, International Blue Flag Director at the Foundation for Environmental Education, FEE. Dear Johan, thank you for being with us. Can you introduce FEE for the colleagues in the audience, please?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Thank you, dear Executive Director of UN Tourism, dear panelists, participants. I'm Johan. I'm the International Director for the Blue Flag Program. I work for the Foundation for Environmental Education. We are an international non-profit organization based in Copenhagen, Denmark. We are an umbrella organization, meaning that we have members around the globe running our programs from Chile to Japan, from Norway and Finland to South Africa. And we are focusing on education to sustainable development, climate change education. We have few programs, 3 mostly related to education, eco schools, young reporters for the environment, and learning about ecosystems and forests, and 2 sustainable tourism programs, Blue Flag and Green Key, that I will be focusing on today. Thank you. You're muted, dear Virginia.
Hi, thank you. Sorry for that. So Blue Flag and Green Key, how are you harnessing those great global programs, to drive measurement and decarbonization actions among the members?
Thank you for your question. At first, I would like to say that the Foundation, as an organization, is a signatory of the Glasgow Declaration, that we apply these pathways through an action plan to our organization first, and we try to implement it also through our criteria for our sustainable tourism programs. We have different elements to harness the power of our networks. For our respective programs, we have over 5,000 certified hospitality establishments for Green Key. We have over 5,000 awarded sites for the Blue Flag program. The Green Key is focusing on the hospitality sector, while the Blue Flag is focusing on the public sector, the private sector, looking at coastal and inland touristic areas, and how to provide a holistic framework for sustainability. Regarding measurements and decarbonization, we have different ways to activate the feedback from the network. We have our criteria, strict, where we include now climate change adaptation mitigation criteria applicable to all our sites, be it for Green Key or Blue Flag. Resources, I would like especially thank our dear partner SHA, the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance. For the Green Key program, we recognize and promote the Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, HCMI, for all hospitality establishments to report on their carbon emission. This reporting is accepted by the Green Key framework, but it means as well that if we promote this tool, all our local stakeholders being certified can also report, for example, for the Glasgow Declaration. This is a way to harness the power of this network. For the Blue Flag program, we are currently in an internal revision for our global criteria. So focusing on mainly working with public, small or big local authorities, the new criteria will be focusing on providing the culture of sustainability reporting with data regarding their carbon emission. We will introduce criteria regarding emission mapping, for example, to identify hotspots. We're going to introduce sustainable procurement policies requirements for our awarded entities, looking at Scope 3 emissions, for example, pushing for more mandatory criteria regarding sustainable transportation, and pushing for energy efficiency and renewable energies. So the new criteria will be aligned with the Glasgow Declaration, especially for small public authorities, will be applicable for big ones as well. Even though they are not yet ready to sign the Glasgow Declaration, we will be able to report down the line while the future global criteria will be implemented to join and give them the voice they deserve through the Glasgow Declaration.
Thank you so much, Johan, for revising the criteria. I think it reminds us of the power of certification, right? When as a tool to trigger change when the criteria are carefully crafted. So that's really interesting. And not so long ago, I was having a discussion with other colleagues on how can we, make more visible somebody was calling it the spheres of influence of the Glasgow Declaration, right? Because you have so many partners. You mentioned 500 plus and 500 plus. Like it's really impressive.
5,000 plus.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot the zero. Yeah, so it's like, how can we bring those voices into the Glasgow Declaration? We also need to find some kind of scalability, that doesn't require everyone maybe to report centrally to us, but rather, fulfilling their role as supporting organization that we can, as you say, get to hear their voices, their stories, build cases so that we can continue exchanging. So thank you.
Pleasure.
All right. So I would suggest that we stop here for a minute and do a first rapid questions and answers session, colleagues, if you agree on focused on measurement and decarbonization. Does anybody have a question or a comment for our participants? Please raise the hand and we will give you the floor. You can also type the questions in the chat, but I will need my colleague Roxana to give me a hand with the chat. Just feel free to raise the hand. It's even more interactive. Don't be shy. I guess everyone's overwhelmed by the good content. Bear with me a minute. I'm gonna see if there's something in the chat.
Yeah, I'm reading in the chat, Virginia,
Okay.
that
Yes.
Dr. Christopher Warren has written he has a question. So
Okay, so please, can we open his mic, Mr. Warren?
yeah, or you want to? Hello, we can hear you.
Can we
Hi
hear
there.
him?
Hi.
We cannot see
Good
him
day,
though.
everybody.
Just a second, Christopher. We cannot see you. There you are. Good to see you.
Hi. Hello. Hi, everybody. I really have a question for everybody. Do you not think that we are reaching a dangerous tipping point in sustainable tourism where people are getting very conscious of greenwashing and are getting unhappy about any statement whatsoever, which is making tourism operators very nervous in actually declaring any statement? And that could lead us to just green hushing. Do you agree with that?
Christopher, sorry, before the colleagues are thinking about the replies, can you tell us who do you represent, just in a couple of sentences?
Sorry, I'm the Chief Scientific Officer for WISE Sustainability. What we do is monitor resource use, waste, etc., real time for tourist accommodation, hospitality businesses around the world. And we provide that information live to the management, the team, so they can actually work to reduce their consumption and waste.
Thank you. Colleagues in the panel, anybody would like to volunteer to take give Christopher a reply, some reflections? Thank you, Johan. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your question. I think that's very relevant. We do see a shift, well, not necessarily a shift, but more expectations from tourists and even citizens being based within the EU, within my own organization, and I'm sure many other certifications or awards are looking at the upcoming EU Green Claims Directive, for instance, that we will comply with down the line. We are working internally to make sure that our certifications and programs will be compliant and giving trust and transparency to citizens. But I do see that this will spill out of the EU as well. I do see these type of expectations from tourists for more transparency and ethics to be more widely implemented within especially the certification and the awards world. And I think that's very beneficial for all.
I tend to agree. Thank you, Johan. I mean, the risk that Christopher was alluding to, the green hashing, that then we don't tell what we're doing anymore. I think if you're really doing it, it's not going to happen. So let's try to build transparency together and keep advancing. Thank you so much for your intervention. All of a sudden I checked the time and I realized we need to move on. Sorry. So I'd like to invite now our next presenter. She's Ms. Alenka Malensek-Bresnik. She's head of Department of Legal Affairs, HR, and Technical Services in Slovenian Tourist Board, and she's also responsible for sustainable business. So she's the nominated Slovene focal point for climate action at UN Tourism, and she holds a vice president role at the European Travel Commission working group called Planet Earth. So Ms. Malensek, the floor is yours for your presentation on the board's climate action commitments. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you see my presentation?
We see it, but it's not on presenter mode.
Okay.
No, it's still the same. It's showing the notes.
Okay.
Yes, it works now.
Perfect. Sorry. Okay, I'm Alenka Malensek-Bresnik. I work for Slovenian Tourist Board. We are a team of 47 people devoted to sustainable tourism. And I will present our climate action commitments. So first, let me just briefly position Slovenia is in the heart of Europe, bordering Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Croatia. We can divide our land in 4 distinct geographical regions. Last year, Slovenia endured the most severe floods in history, primarily attributed to the global climate shift. And we are much aware, as our climatologist, Lučka Kajfež-Bogataj, said that never has been so much CO2 in the atmosphere, and we have never had such a broken energy balance. So we indeed need to be more active. So we have set up a strategic group to draft the implementation plan of our commitments to Glasgow Declaration. We identified, as you can see, many activities, 16 activities, to reach our goal, which is, of course, carbon neutral tourism. 8 tasks should be fulfilled by the end of this year, and another we think they're ongoing. So the first tasks should be, we have already implemented training for our employees in November last year, together with the only 2 other signatories of Glasgow Declaration in Slovenia, which are the 2 faculties of tourism, and together with our Ministry of Climate, which is very active in also legislation, and with European Travel Commission. Then the guide of climate change adaptation of tourism in Slovenia is being prepared and will be soon translated into English and shared publicly. So we are doing also quite active role in research. Then we have identified areas relevant to measuring the carbon footprint of our business. We have already measured our carbon footprint within our first sustainability report for the years to 2020-2028. For the next report, we will measure it more sophisticated based on the methodology identified within that you mentioned, Virginia, ETC chapter Earth working group. We will also prepare our climate action plan together with this group based on the template that will be set up shortly. We will then upgrade our green office project with climate measures. We are in the process also of renewal of our green scheme of Slovene tourism, which is a really important tool for us, which will also include additional climate measures. We will then implement communication campaign for more orderly, hospitable and green Slovenia. These are the 8 really, in this year we will implement all these 8 tasks. Then ongoing tasks are, we have already signed the commitment to use sustainable standards of the advertising industry, as we are a marketing agency. This is a project introduced by Slovenian Advertising Chamber. It aims to 3 basic commitments, which are implementation of ESG principles into our operations, portraying a sustainable world through our advertising and marketing activities, and spreading our influence on all stakeholders, especially on the supply chain. Then we are doing constantly trainings for our stakeholders through our academy and other events. We are developing tools of our websites to promote different initiatives and commitments, e.g. less plastic, more sustainability, sustainable gastronomy, water consumption, and others. We are establishing also a national system for measuring, reducing, and offsetting the carbon footprint in tourism. This is a task that is also written in our national Slovene tourism strategy. Then we are in the middle of establishment of the National Information Hub that will measure the effects of tourism, including the measurement of the carbon footprint of whole Slovene tourism. In cooperation with the related ministries, we will establish also a national model of tourism adaptation to climate change, which is also a goal of our strategy for period of 7 years. Then ongoing collaboration with our stakeholders, of course, this is the key, and also annual reporting. As I mentioned, we have a really detailed and strong tourism strategy. for the next 7 years, and the strategy responds to the new circumstances and challenges faced by tourism industry, while developing and promoting the key benefits of Slovenian tourism and Slovenia as a whole. One of the 5 strategic goals is also to decarbonize and balance Slovenian tourism. This is our green office project that was developed back in 2008 and upgraded in 2021. The commitment to sustainable development and marketing of Slovenian tourism is the commitment of our team to constantly adapt to the environmentally friendly business operations, and the commitment to set good examples to others when protecting the environment. We have published recently a brochure, also in English, which focuses on 5 fields: waste, energy, water, traffic, health, and stickers to raise awareness and promote the implementation of measures between employees and also general public. To improve the sustainable business of our organizations, we have also established an eco team, which encourages employees to behave more sustainably. There is also one interesting monography that prepares the groundwork for adaptation to climate change that I mentioned before within the Slovene sector in Slovenia, and assesses the risk and vulnerabilities of Slovenian tourism to climate change and identifies possible adaptation options of Slovene tourism. It is available online. In 2019, we have also, together with the Faculty of Tourism, measured the carbon footprint of Slovene tourism. And you can see the biggest part is on transportation, 70%, then followed by activities 15%, accommodation 11%, and food 3%. This is only a pilot, but we will, as I mentioned, this hub that we are implementing right now through the some European project, we will measure it onwards on the regular basis. So sustainability is at the core of our tourism activities. Slovenia is green by green facts. Slovenia Eggs Green, this is made mostly through our green scheme of Slovenian tourism, where we promote our destinations and tourism providers with the Slovenia Green signs to award them for their sustainable achievements and practices. And we promote, of course, green. Slovenia Tourist Board has pledged itself to sustainable development with the National Strategic Guideline, and in doing so, has taken an important step towards sustainable development of the entire country. More than 270 tourism destinations and providers were awarded with this green sign, and the numbers of members of the green scheme are rising annually. Okay, and at the end, maybe some points of interest. We are the only country that has the right to drinking water incorporated in the constitution. Slovenia is the first green country in the world according to the Green Destination Standard. We have pioneered the celebration of World Bee Day, emphasizing the importance of bees to global ecosystem and agriculture. And Slovenia is covered in forest. 60% of Slovenia is covered in forest, so we have a lot to preserve. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alenka. Very interesting. Thanks for all the work that you are doing. And it's also really great to count on your leadership within the ETC, right, to mobilize other European destinations also in the same direction, and hopefully be able to welcome them also as part of Glasgow Declaration. It was very nice to see how you covered measure and decarbonization aspects as well as regeneration. So this, as we said in the beginning, is perfect bridge for us to move on to the second round of questions with our discussants, which are related to regeneration. Can we put up the slide of regeneration?
Just before we continue, Virginia, we have our dear Executive Director, I think.
Okay, I didn't see that.
There's Aritza.
Please come in.
Yes, thank you very much, Alenka. I'm very impressed, and I want to congratulate you, Indonesia as well. It's another path because I'm following Slovenia's path on the green agenda since I spent many years in Seychelles and the other part of the world, but really very comparable capacity, because when a country is small, it allows as well to really first you are obliged to be responsible, but in this other way you are as well capable of maybe taking action very differently. I just would like to underline that in your efforts in looking at the global tool for measuring, I just want to point that Slovenia National Statistical Office and the head of the office, which I met in New York about 3 months ago, when the UN Statistical Commission approved a first statistical framework beyond GDP, measuring the sustainability of tourism. She is, your head of the National Statistical Office, is very engaged. And I would really urge you to create the dialogue so that we are not disconnected from the first ever, I can say, global framework on a comparable data set. And I'm really happy to have a bilateral conversation with you and Virginia and the team on how we could maximize that. That not only because I think the leadership in that sphere of data and new metrics needs to be valorized. So that's all what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Zorica, for your intervention and remarks. Can we now see the slide on regeneration and how we are defining, not exactly defining, but referring to regenerative pathway in Glasgow? So basically what the regenerate pathway says is restore and protect ecosystems, supporting nature's ability to draw down carbon, as well as safeguarding biodiversity, food security, and water supply, so ecosystems component. Then it says, as much of tourism is based in regions most immediately vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, ensure the sector can support affected and at-risk communities in resilience building, adaptation, and disaster response. So adaptation and risk component. And then the last sentence is help visitors and host communities experience better balance with nature, so the people aspect. Okay, so that was just a refresher. I will start now with Catherine. So if I could get all the discussants pinned again. Thank you, colleagues. Catherine, you mentioned yourself, like Evanios was actually founded with the idea of building a fairer alternative to the conventional tourism model, connecting travelers from around the world and local companies in the host destinations. So what actions are you driving in connection to Regenerate Pathway, for example?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So, I mean, I think we all know that tourism isn't just really reliant on nature and natural ecosystems. It also has a huge impact on it. And I think over the last decades, humans and tourism and mass tourism especially really have already destroyed large parts of these ecosystems. And so it's in our own interest to not only protect what is left, but to also rebuild and to regenerate what we have already lost. And I think in the last years at Evanios, we've been focusing mostly on how can we reduce the negative impacts that we have? How can we, what are things that we do not want to sell and that we do not want to do? And over the last years, we've been trying much more to move towards how can we increase the positive impact that we have, and how can we make sure that even though there will always be some negative impacts related to traveling, that the net overall outcome of a trip is positive, both for the social and the economic of the destination, but also for the natural ecosystems of the destination. And so again, being a marketplace, we don't directly sell the trips ourselves, we don't design them, but we've been working a lot with our agency network all around the world, and really raising our expectations towards the trips that they design, asking them to create experiences that either finance natural regeneration or that the agencies themselves engage and advocate for regeneration, that our travelers are able to have experiences where they can learn about regeneration and learn around nature and reconnect with nature, to really, drive that positive impact. And I think one last point I wanted to mention is that we really believe that there's no one-fits-all solution for regeneration, and that every community and every destination has completely different challenges and needs different solutions. So us being based in France but working all over the world, I don't think it's up for us to explain everyone in their countries what they should be doing and how they can best regenerate. So we're really trying to just bring together local actors, our local agencies, but with sustainability experts from the destinations, with DMOs, with organizations like you in tourism and the One Planet Network, and helping these local communities find the best ways to regenerate.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Very inspiring, especially given the close connection with local communities, that inclusive approach. Thank you so much. Without communities, resilience won't happen. So certainly we need to involve them. Johan, your turn now. What about Blue Flag and Green Key sites, establishments, stakeholders? I mean, all the players in your network, are they engaging in ecosystem restoration actions?
Yes. I would like to go back to our current strategy for the organization, focusing on the triple crisis that the world is facing: climate, biodiversity, and pollution. The Glasgow Declaration, this is one of our main tools to promote and push for action in regards to climate change. Regarding ecosystem restoration, regeneration, the foundation and therefore its programs, Blue Flag and Green Key included, we are heavily involved in supporting the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, led by UNEP and the FAO, and we are leading the education challenge within this initiative. For Blue Flag especially, just like the Glasgow Declaration and the recommended actions are a great framework for me to align my criteria, or the network criteria, or even more the local applicants' criteria that they will use. We've been partnering with ICLEI, the local authorities for sustainability association, looking at their cities with nature framework that supports the global biodiversity framework. My role as an international director, it is to use the Blue Flag as a catalyst for change, looking at how the best frameworks will support the best change, taking into account that everything is interlinked between biodiversity, ecosystem restoration, climate action. If we're looking at, and I very much support what Catherine just said about this is great to have criteria, frameworks, methodologies, resources. That's what we provide. Leaving the local communities to take within their hands what is the best for them, looking at their local ecosystems, either for restoration and also protection. So this is one way how we can push for action regarding regeneration for this pathway, and also all the programs on how to get them potentially looking at what is important for us, education within our programs, having mandatory environmental education activities on all Blue Flag, either within Blue Flag municipalities or marinas or tourism boat-based operations, to have future ecosystem restoration young leaders that will become either future young professionals within the tourism sector, or in any case, tourists, be it within their own local environments or even a bit further away in very short.
Thank you so much, Johan, and thank you for making the point on education, which actually could have been another pathway of Glasgow if you think about it, but it isn't, because it's so cross-cutting and so much needed that I actually think it might have been a mistake to single it out. It really needs to be embedded in all that we do, right? Whether it's regeneration, as you were saying, or whether it's measurement or decarbonization, etc. So thanks for bringing that point again and sharing openly about your work. Matti, your turn now. Destination approach again. So how are you incentivizing or promoting, let's say, the creation of regenerative experience? We now talk a lot about regenerative experiences, and And what do you understand by regenerative experience? Because I mean, we heard from Catherine, this is regenerative pathway is context sensitive, so to speak. Maybe it doesn't look the same everywhere. We have to take into account local knowledge. We saw in the beginning the definition that, well, it's not definition, I don't want to use that term, the description, let's say softer, of regenerative pathway. So where do you stand? Are we all aligned? Where do you stand when looking at regenerative experiences? Thank you.
Well, thank you for asking. First of all, I think regenerative tourism, it's a great approach and has great potential for building the resilience of tourism and also preparing companies for the future challenges. So it's a super great approach. And I also think that it's sort of one way to detach ourselves from the sort of, quote, fast food type of tourism, which I think we really need to be moving towards more sustainable and sort of long-term tourism models and more resilient business models. So I think regenerative tourism is a great tool for that. But to be honest, here in Tampere, we are still really in the early stages of utilizing regenerative approach, at least at destination level. Some companies are of course maybe further on that road, but as a destination, we are really in the early stages. I think it's maybe not in the core of regenerative thinking out and sort of the idea of regenerative tourism, but we are currently exploring different models for local compensation, aka models which would enhance the local nature-based carbon sinks and which would also have positive impacts to the local biodiversity. The idea behind this is that it would, of course, provide the visitors here an option to leave a positive handprint and sort of a lasting impact from their visit. And it would also hopefully be a tool for us to sort of engage also those visitors who are maybe not ready to participate in regenerative services or regenerative tourism actions, but they would also have a way to sort of, well, leave a lasting green impact or imprint of their visit here. So that is maybe the first step we are trying to take. But of course, simultaneously, we really need to also be developing better services and tourism products to really sort of take full benefit of the regenerative approach.
Thank you so much, Matti. Actually, the reason why I was asking you is also that when we were doing the implementation report, we saw within the climate action plans that we revised over 250 plans that basically there were a lot of elements which could fit under regeneration, but they were not really presented as a block. They're just still scattered. So we really think that we need to focus on providing a bit more guidance on how to roll out, let's say, the regenerate pathway, and that's something we have in the pipeline, hopefully, for release ASAP. I don't want to say a date, just in case we face delays. All right, so we still have 10 minutes to the hour, which I'm very happy. We can have the second Q&A really quick, as promised. Colleagues in the audience, raise your hand if you want to make a question or comment. Directly opening your mic. I don't see any hands. Roxana, help me out if there's a hand, which I don't see. Come on, don't be shy. You all have very interesting things to say. And it's nice to see you on screen. Anybody? Good. So I see Amanda Snow, Blue Sail Tourism, I guess. I cannot read it in full. Please open your mic and kindly introduce yourself really quick and then your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Yes, thank you very much for a really interesting conversation to all the panelists. My question, I'm from Blue Sail Consulting. We're a consulting company in the UK, and we help destinations and attractions with their tourism development plans in general. And specifically, we have done quite a bit of work in helping destinations with sustainability planning. My question is around how much interest you're seeing or how much engagement you're seeing from travelers and on the consumer side with regenerative tourism in general, whether that's participating in regenerative experiences or a desire to understand how their tourism is impacting in terms of community or biodiversity. I'd just be interested in understanding whether you're seeing an increase in interest, and if so, from what demographic?
Thank you so much, Amanda. Colleagues who would like to volunteer for an answer? Mrs. Handayani, please, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you so much for the question, Amanda. I think in Indonesia now a lot of tourists from abroad, especially from Europe and Australia, is now looking for the sustainable, like we call it sustainable destinations, and they also looking for the activities that related to how to can have can give the benefit to the destinations. We don't have yet the data, so I'm really interested actually to also to know this market, because this is the one that we can ask, or we can bring to the industry, to our industry, that look, this is the market is changing, so we need to also change how the industry work toward these issues. So maybe you as consultant, maybe you have the data in general, but we'll see that also in our young generation now in Indonesia, they also tend to go to see more experienced tourism with the more quality, to give benefit, to give contribution to the local and then to the environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Handayani. I mean, I think everything is pointing at demand shifting and having a greater appetite, let's say, for sustainability, generational change, bigger awareness of global problems, etc. However, this is behavioral science, right? So you want to measure it and you end up running in loops, because we saw it from, I think, the last Booking.com report, the survey they carry out every year. I don't remember the percentages by heart, but basically they tried to measure this, and conclusion is, yes, there is more demand. So there are more people answering, yes, I want sustainable travel experiences. But then there is an implementation gap, which, I don't know, it was a lower percentage, showing that maybe you have the wish, but then when you face, I don't know, maybe price element, maybe whichever the element, you end up not doing as much sustainable experience as you would have wished for. So really tricky one to measure, but certainly, I mean, for the audience also, if you have insights, reports, or you know all these pieces of research on this topic available, why not start sharing them, you know, for all of us to really have a bit more information on what is doing. This is a perfect research topic. So calling out on the PhDs out there. Thank you so much. Okay, see another hand from Mahmoud Shaban. Mahmoud, please come in, introduce yourself briefly if you may, and then the question.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your presentations and great inputs. My name is Mahmoud Shaban. I'm from Egypt myself. I live in Germany. I'm a member in the International Committee of Culture Tourism for ECOMOS. and I'm a World Heritage Capacity Building Officer myself. I'm just excited and really interested in the work that have actually done by Indonesia and also Slovenia. And as an Egyptian myself, I'm still not really doing like greatly in the field of the climate action. So I'm wondering if there is a possibility to collaborate with UN tourism and in the same time Slovenia and Indonesia, so that we can develop our practices and really sharpen the way we calculate our sustainable practices in Egypt as well. I expect that will happen in collaboration with also some of my ECOMOS colleagues. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Alenka,
yes, if I may, for sure, once we have this, for example, draft on climate action plan, that would be really no problem to share. It will be very advanced and detailed, and you could really, because I think when I talk to Slovene audience, they are kind of afraid how to start, how to build this climate action plan. It's really, they're not capable of doing it, so they need support, and definitely we will share as much as we can, and you can also contact me and we can talk about your specific needs.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm very happy also, very welcome to work with you, and also with Alenka. Congratulations. You're working on the scope of destinations. We are just start, Indonesia just start, but I think we need to start now and then to prepare that tourism industry is also join this effort together. Thank you.
Perfect.
Really welcome to
thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Please remember also the policy guidance that we showed on a slide at the beginning, which could be helpful to gain some knowledge on climate policy at national level and how the tourism sector can make a difference as a sectoral climate policy. And also in the implementation report, Mahmoud, at the end, and this goes for Mahmoud and for everyone, we have, it's not a full guidance, but already reflections as to what are the common steps which people have reported on as useful to follow when you are developing your climate action plan. And we also have lists of like decarbonization actions and lists of regenerate actions. This is not checklist, but it's the list of the most commonly or frequently repeated actions in climate action plans, with maybe help, removing the fears. If you're thinking something cannot work, then perhaps you see others are doing it and it does work. So
great. Yeah.
There's just 1 minute left, but if you allow, I think, since we're still 100 connected, I think that I can read that as there is interest. Can we all stay maybe for 5-10 extra minutes so I can get one more question from the audience that I see? Is that okay, colleagues? Thank you so much. Okay, so there's a question from Lioma Onyeyekwe. Sorry for mispronouncing for sure. The floor is yours. Just please introduce yourself and then your question. I see you're still muted, ma'am. We cannot hear you.
All right, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Thank you, everyone, for the lecture. I'm Ijem Onyeyekwe. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a Chief Heritage Officer with National Commission for Museums and Monuments. I have 2 questions to Johan and Handayani, and I want to go first to Handayani. In her first lecture, when she was talking about carbon emission, she mentioned 6 key focal areas for carbon emissions. I would like her to highlight on them, and if there are any regenerative implementation that have been done in these 6 key areas, I'll also like her to talk on them. Then for Johan, when he was talking about carbon emission, he mentioned the hotel carbon emission initiative in Netherlands. I want to know the variables you use in your measurement and the techniques so I can understand it more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before the colleagues reply, could you let us know who do you represent, please, Idioma? Which is your organization?
All right, I work with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. I'm a member of the International Council of Monuments and Sites, Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Colleagues who would like to go first, Mrs. Handayani?
Yes.
Or... Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Since we just start, I mean, the tourism sector just joined this in national committee. I will ask my colleagues from the Ministry of Environment to see whether they already have a roadmap from other sectors, and then maybe I can give you my email, then we can connect after this. So because I cannot answer that question right now. Thank you.
Johan, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So yes, I was referring to the Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, namely HCMI, an initiative developed by the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance. So all the variables, I will share a link in the chat, but this is basically greenhouse gases emission protocols developed, if I'm correct, with Cornell University. So I will not go due to time. I would rather share a link with all information in detail. And then on the website, you will have the link of my colleagues from the Green Key International team. You're welcome to contact them for more details.
Thank you so much, Johan. I'll also ask kindly my colleague Roxana. Roxana, if you could paste in the chat the link to our repository, because actually, for example, HCMI was one of the tools that we analyzed when we developed an overview of greenhouse gas emissions measurement and tools. Actually, we saw that this is used by many, many hotels. It's probably the calculator for hotels, which is more used at global level. So you can also find some insights there in our repository through this report, and basically all the materials that we have produced so far, and also cases from colleagues, etc. In support to Mrs. Handayani's intervention, where she alluded to the Ministry of Environment, this is a key element. Like, we really need to foster collaboration across institutions in government, right? You think about competence of tourism ministries is not climate action. So it's all a process that we are progressively becoming fit, if you allow me the expression, as national tourism administrations to deal with these issues. So when it comes to Regenerate and the purest ecosystems approach environment, which is very scientific, of course, it's very important to rely on the science. We have split the session into mitigation and adaptation. But at the end of the day, you know, we did one round of questions in mitigation, one round of questions on regeneration. But at the end of the day, Glasgow is an integrated approach. Like, ideally, that's why we recommend to focus on all the pathways, because ideally we're creating a virtuous circle with our mitigation actions. We're reducing, for example, resource consumption, so nature is in better shape. With our regenerate actions, we are protecting nature's ability to reduce carbon, so carbon is being sequestered, and everything becomes, you know, more holistic. So don't get the impression that we're trying to work in silos. The idea is that we will all converge sooner than later. Okay, we have Omar Abi Ali, and that would be the last question for today. Mr. Omar, floor is yours, please.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for this invitation. Thanks for the panelists. My name is Omar Abi Ali. I'm the DMO manager of the Shuf, Destination Shuf. It's located in Lebanon. We also manage the ecotourism activities in the largest protected area in the Middle East. It's the Shuf Biosphere Reserve. Actually, what we are doing nowadays is to return back to the cultural practices and to help the local community to stay in their villages and to increase their profits. And what we concluded from like 10 years of work is the best way to increase, to decrease the carbon emissions is return back to the cultural practices. And all the activities that we are promoted in our destination, it's coming from the background of the conservation projects and moreover from the cultural activities. So what we are selling, we used to sell an experience that you get, experience about our lives, our culture, what our grandparents used to live. But what we are facing now, because the number of tourists increased every year, we are trying to how to manage the investors, the new investors, because when the number of tourists increased, the people that have a bulk of money, they used to invest in our destinations, and we are facing a big problem. So I want to ask you how you manage these investments, how you keep the locals safe, and how you use to promote the experiences and the cultural practices in your destinations, especially for Mati. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar. I was going to ask for a volunteer, but I guess, Mati, you have been appointed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, Omar. I guess I can go first, but I think in this thing, we are actually more a learning partner, or we are in the position of learners here, because in Tampere, our tourism industry works in a maybe a bit different way. We have mostly domestic visitors, and we have not built our industry or the tourism services the way you have done. So that's actually a really interesting example for us how to maybe think about this in the future in a different way. So I'm maybe more looking towards you as a positive example how we could also approach, especially the regenerative side of tourism, and building a different type of sort of set of services in the future. But maybe someone else has better sort of insight on the.
Thank you so much, Mati. Colleagues, anybody else wants to share a reflection for Omar? With Omar? Okay, thank you so much, Omar. We will continue reflecting. I realized I missed a question from the chat, actually from Janine Mukami. Do you still have the question, Ms. Mukami? Would you like to come in? It's last call. Ms. Mukami? Okay.
Yeah, she wrote yes in the chat. I think you need to unmute yourself so we can hear you, or if you are willing to, you can write it in the chat and we can read it out loud for the others. Okay, now we have you on the screen. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Tell us which organization you represent, please, Janine, and then the question. Thank you. You're muted, ma'am. We cannot hear you, ma'am. You're on mute.
What about now?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Janine. I am a tourism graduate from Kenya and also work as a local DMC.
We cannot hear you, ma'am. There's a problem with the mic.
What about now?
Yes, that works better. Thank you. Please, if you could start, because it was breaking up.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my main question actually goes to Alenka about the Glasgow Declaration. My main question was about maybe the challenges that you got during the implementation process of the whole regenerative tourism, and maybe how you managed to bring all the stakeholders in board, and also talk with the local DMCs on the importances of regenerative tourism, making sure that the main practices of sustainable tourism are also kept in place.
Thank you, Ms. Janine. Sorry, Alenka, I'm jumping in. I didn't get which organization you represent. If you could repeat that, Janine, please, as well. Okay, we cannot hear you, Janine. Anyway.
Okay, let me take my question then.
No, we had your question. I'm just wondering, which organization do you represent?
Oh, I work for a local DMC in Kenya called Holiday Finder.
Okay, super. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Alenka, sorry for jumping in. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the questions. Cooperation with destinations is of our utmost importance. We are connected with them on a regular basis. There are so-called DMO representatives that are at each destination, and they cooperate with us on different topics. We are also, maybe that would be interesting, we are also having every year a public tender, and we are awarding so-called unique sustainable experiences. So organizations can apply and they get rewarded through stronger promotion, or so that their experiences are available to tourists. So I think without close cooperation with destinations, we wouldn't be successful as we are. So there should be, I guess, in every country, this like comprehensive like a map on all the key partners, and also that closely work together to achieve the goals, because only connecting with all stakeholders we can achieve goals that we set up.
Thank you so much, Janine, for the question, and Alenka for the answer. I think ending on the note of collaboration is a good end for our webinar. So I just wanted to check with the colleagues on screen. Do you want to share one thought about why collaborating is important with our audience? Just to close, why do you think they shall join us? They shall sign Glasgow and collaborate with us. Who would like to go first?
I think, can I give comment? Yes. I think we cannot work by ourselves. There is no boundaries in the globe, actually. It's boundaries of administrations about the country, but the collaboration between the country to share how we can support our target for the decarbonization is very important. So I really thanks to UN Tourism to have these discussions, and really looking forward to have a collaboration with all of you in the future, in near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sandayani. Who would like to go next with some reflections? Catherine, I see your mic is activated.
Yeah, I would completely agree with what Rizky just said. I think we can all just benefit from collaborating more on this global challenge. There's no competition. I think somebody said that in the introduction when it comes to sustainability, and by working together, we can all just benefit from it. So also from our side at Evaneos, if anybody ever wants to talk about it, very open to collaborate and partner.
Thank you so much. Johan, Mati, any final remarks from your side, or Alenka, any additional words?
Sure, I'm happy to add one break in the wall of collaboration. That's definitely our bread and butter for the past 40 years for the foundation. We are very lucky to have an extensive global institutional partnership network with UN Tourism for many years, with other UN organizations, other global NGOs, but also at national level. It is within the Blue Flag program, we have ministries of tourism being part of the network of the program. We do have more and more destinations and other organizations, as well as local level applying for the Blue Flag. This is a holistic approach where we bring everybody around the table to discuss climate, biodiversity, education, accessibility, safety, and so on. So I can only encourage to promote and engage with even further new partners, and my door or my email in any case is always open for new collaboration as well. So thank you very much again for the invitation, and please count our ongoing support.
Thank you so much, Johan. Matti, Alenka. Not compulsory, but I think it would be
If I
nice
go
to hear.
first, and Alenka can sum it up, but well, I just really agree with everyone, and maybe from the city perspective, I think cities are sort of the drivers of maybe also the negative climate impacts, but we are also major drivers of the solutions to the climate challenge, and in that perspective, it's of course natural that we are one of the drivers of finding solutions to climate neutral tourism also. But cities cannot do it by themselves. We need to collaborate with other cities. We need to collaborate with national level and on international level. And it's super wonderful that we have Glasgow Declaration Initiative and this network, because we really need each other, and all good ideas are more than welcome and has to be shared or have to be shared.
Thank you,
Yes.
Matti. Alenka.
We all have one planet, so only together we can achieve our goal. So climate neutral tourism, and every effort is relevant.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really much appreciated. You've been fantastic. Thank you for the colleagues that were also sharing questions. Huge thanks to our executive director. In fact, she was the one reminding us there is no competition in this field. We're all in this together. So really looking forward to seeing you more often, starting with tomorrow. Basically, we have a second roundtable. If you are willing to connect, the roundtable tomorrow starts at 4 p.m. Madrid time. We will have again an amazing lineup of speakers, and we need to close now. So I'll just let's put the slide with our email in case somebody has still a question or comment, or you would like to reach out, find out how to sign Glasgow Declaration, and so on. So thank you, everyone. We close here. It's been amazing. Very, very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
You.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, bye.